So then we are back with more understandings from the time of the second tabernacle services, where we find the Aramaic English translation of the word. This translation comes from the original manuscripts of the prophets of the Tzaielic lineage. So then we can understand the time of the end. As per Yeshayahu the prophet, we find layers of understanding of the spring feast, the Aurum feast, and also the returning of the cities of the Messiah laid waste for many centuries. From the perspective of what's going on in the world, as far as we can read from the Holy Instructions, the cities of the Savior, as far as we can read from Isaiah chapter 1:8, explains a section of where then the first holy city must be at. And during the time of Yohanan, known as John, he was then obviously the last apostle, or then Shaliach. He was endowed with a very important understanding, and it was the explanation of the completion of the spring feast. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, is very important because as we read this section, you can understand later on came 4 authors of the completion of the spring feast. A couple of them were Hebrew, and a couple of them were Gentiles. Explaining from the viewpoint of the prophet himself, he was aware of the time given to the Messiah and also the time given to Nahashatan. And so many persons in this world, they teach situations and understandings where they simply do not understand the linear timeline ever since the time of the Savior. The 20th chapter of Revelation, you find then very specific understanding as far as we can read and explain. And he saw an angel that descended from heaven, having the key of the pit in a great chain in his hand, and he seized the dragon. Firstly then, let's understand a point as far as the nomenclature used by these. Coming down from heaven with a chain in his hand, and he seized then the destroyer. It's not dragon, it is destroyer. Because the facet of Nahashatan that was bound was binding a person, because there were cities no more. Yet it is depicted as an angel coming down from heaven with a chain in his hand. When the holy city was destroyed, then the destroyer, Nahashatan or Satan or adversary, he changed his facet from destroyer to deceiver. Thus the 1,000 years of deceit. And also explained the old serpent and the deceiver and Nahashatan, who seduced the whole habitable world, and he bound him for 1,000 years. What this means was, obviously, as you read, extremely simple. The understanding of the destroyer was because the first holy city and the second and the third, during 1,000 years, they were destroyed. Later on came the time of deceit, where people, they think they are going to heaven rather than resting in the earth. Their bodies are back to the dust where they came from, and the souls then are resting until this age then is destroyed. Now comes a situation. There are many faiths in this world is stating that this age yet is going to be then refurbished as it is. A lot of people, they are teaching as a world refurbished rather than destroyed. The destruction of this age is a must as per the instructions. Those who are obedient, their souls are then put to rest, and those who are not obedient, they are finding themselves in Sheol, or the Inferno, in torment until this age then is destroyed, known as Sheol. So then, the 1,000 years of the Messiah is already gone, because it's a timeline. However, there are people yet teaching that 1,000 years of the Messiah is yet coming. So the confusion is absolutely rampant. There is no 1,000 years of the Messiah coming, but it's already gone. Not only the 1,000 years of the Messiah is gone, but then the 1,000 years of Nehushtan is also gone. We are during a period of time known as the restoration of the holy cities and then the destruction of this planet. And then later on, when this world, this planet is then refurbished, then the people or their souls are coming back from the resting place and given a glorified body. Now, in many circles and churches and congregations, you hear many kinds of stories. Now, you can be sure it is a pure lie when a person states that 1,000 years of the Savior is yet to come. It's an absolutely pure lie, because they don't understand from the time of the Messiah when he, or then the Savior, ascended until today. You can roughly understand a couple thousand years. 1,000 for the Messiah, for the Savior, 1,000 for Nehushtan, and we are during the time of the restoration period. Now, either they're doing these unknowingly, or they are doing it on purpose, or they made a deal with the world of speaking lies. But with the Messiah, or with the Savior, there are no lies. So then, reading from the Holy Instructions, what can we gather as far as this period of time of 1,000 years, and then 1,000 years given to Nehushtan? Firstly then, we understand the Messiah came. He was the utmost important person of this planet. There is absolutely no other person that can compare with him. No person in his or her right mind can compare himself or herself with the Messiah or with the Savior. And if a person does not read the Holy Instructions, they don't understand even further. Now, is there a place of salvation? There is, based from what the instructions are showing us. There are distinctions. There are places where you understand holy cities, and there are places outside of the holy cities. They are not the same. The first holy city is on the land of Cush, as precisely as it started, so then the restoration has its starting point. Yohanan started on the land of Cush, so as the first holy city of the restoration period on the land of Cush. So then you understand the consistency as far as the holy instructions, so then people can be prepared for what's coming. Tabernacling wise, this is a very brief understanding of the situation. As far as the Gentile level, we understand there are lots of sections of Daniel the 11th chapter explaining what is coming as far as the nations preparing themselves for the new system of China. Many places in the world, they refuse of having the system of China because of their own fears of what they think should be, or what they experienced during the time of the 1,000 years of Nahashatan, and they want to extend this time further. The time of Nahashatan has expired. We are during the time of the restoration period, and the trade must be done as it was during the time of the 1,000 years of the Messiah. There is a great movement of the East. Fuel is readily available for the purposes of work, and the new system is obviously coming very fastly, as it was during the time of the past. It was said the system of China is coming, or the Chinese system is coming, and the Chinese system is coming, and it did come. The situation we should be waiting for is then the third step, known as the investment icon, and then the taxes. That's a big situation, taxes. We understand IBM and Bitcoin are joining up very wisely. And then the freighters must be included, and taxes and central banks must be included. So understand there is a lot of work to do as far as the software, and then understanding how the developments as far as trade, transfers, and also gathering of taxes. During the 1,000 years of Nahashatan, the nations, they did what they wanted during this time as per instructions. So then, taxes. What is the link then of freighters and taxes? We understand there are many nations in this world, they are in financial troubles, such as, for instance, Brazil. It's a very serious crisis. Yet the people, they are learning that they have a weapon in their hands as far as the freighters. The more people purchase online, the more the infrastructure takes place. Now, the only situation is buying with a unlinked monetary system requires a system of gathering of taxes, because there are no laws yet regulating using these monies and then purchasing with these monies. As far as linking wise this system and the central bank, and then what you invest using these secondary but important monetary system, there are no laws yet in place. Reading from the Holy Instructions, from the 11th chapter of Daniel, we understand there are sections related with the Socialist Party. Socialism yet must be on top. As we understand from the Holy Instructions, the Netzer, or then the Gentile word mixed with Netzer, explains the socialism that was experienced during the 60s. However, back in the 60s was then a war for control, military control of the world. The only distinction is during this time, it is a socialism to protect then the new trade. Nations, they are stealing, politicians are stealing, they have become licensed pirates, and they have not taken notice yet. Thieves, scoundrels of the worst kind, yet they don't perceive that they are stealing from the system. The reason why the Creator then has decided of having such a system is for the limitation of these scoundrels and liars of politicians, so they have a glimpse of how pirates they are. They are not interested in making the economy as a means of a target. Oh no. They don't give a rip as far as the economy of the country. They are only taking care of themselves and stealing as much as they can. A great nation such as Brazil, 7.5% of growth in a year, a few years back, has halted. The nation is stagnated and the economy is ruined. And the country has no money. Now the IMF must obviously gather up and consider lending money to this country once again, as it was during the time of 80s and 90s. This country has no power of investment, and the category of Brazil outside of this nation is junk. So then, as this system then is being implemented, a simple decision of buying via telephones and computers changes the whole scenario. This is what nations should be doing. And implement the new system coming, because it regulates politicians stealing from the nation. Please stay tuned, much more coming up.